I'm very pleased to welcome the head of the Supervisory Board of Volkswagen AG, Hans-Dieter Pötsch, and our CEO, Herbert Diess, and the chair of the Works Council, Daniela Cavallo. The Lower Saxon Minister President and Supervisory Board member, Stefan Weil, apologizes because he is taking part in the Minister President's conference and he will send in his opinion in writing. We have many guests here today, and I'm very pleased that we are confronting you with very good results. And I'd like to give the floor to Hans-Dieter Pötsch, and then we'll hear Mr. Diess, Dr. Diess, then Ms. Cavallo. Dr. Pötsch.
Thank you, Ms. Monsen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to join us in our digital press conference. We would have liked to welcome you in person here in Wolfsburg. After intensive deliberations in the Supervisory Board, we want to present to you the results of this year's planning round as regards the capital expenditure of the group for the next 5 years and on the personnel changes in the group. At this point, I would like to point out that our financial basis in order to come up with the enormous amount of capital expenditure can deem to be very robust and substantial. We think that with the investment that we have decided that we will make the Volkswagen Group fit for the future. The transformation of the Volkswagen Group, we move forward and we focus with our investment on all of the major future fields of investment, of mobility. Thus, the strategy of the group will be implemented in a consistent fashion. On the central points that we deliberated today and that we adopted, the full electrification of the European sites. Thus, the group moves forward its new auto strategy. For the first time, the investment into the future go primarily into e-mobility and digitalization, and they account for the lion's share of all of the capital expenditure. With 89 billion euros, the share is stepped up from 50 to now 56%. The share of battery electric cars will grow in the 5-year period to 25%. The details you will be hearing from Dr. Diess. In addition, the head of our Works Council, Daniela Cavallo, will give you further information on the effects of our decisions on our sites in Lower Saxony and on our employees in general. Before, please allow me to talk about the changes in the Group Board of Management. The Supervisory Board today decided to strengthen the Group Board of Management in a structural way and as regards the personnel in order to be well fit for the upcoming times. The Management Board is now put on a broader footing and in structural terms because all of the parts that are of strategic significance will be looked at in an even more focused way. This includes the business of our software unit, CARIAD. That is what Dr. Herbert Diess will look at and will focus on to an even greater extent. Not just from a product point of view, but also when it comes to the profit pools, this is of central significance for the group. This also includes the development of our core brand Volkswagen passenger car with Ralf Brandstätter, and in the subsequent course of the year it will be led by Thomas Schäfer directly from the Group Board of Management. In addition, we have our China business. Here, Ralf Brandstätter from August next year will bring in his entire experience and his network. We have a very well-versed lawyer in Manfred Dörs with long years of experience, and he will join us in the Group Board of Management. In this context, I explicitly would like to thank Hiltrud Werner for the work she has done in recent years. In her function, Ms. Werner has accompanied the group in a very demanding time. And there she was successful in ending monitorship, and she has moved forward important compliance and integrity issues for the group and implemented those issues. With Hauke Stars, we do not only get a very experienced manager with a lot of know-how in the IT arena, but also when it comes to organizational and structural matters. She will make her contribution in order to move forward digitalization of the group in organization and in administration. Thus, the Group Board of Management has even more power in order to work through the strategic tasks of the years to come. And Hildegard Wortmann will have the newly created Group Board of Management line on sales, and with her we live up to the situation that the transformation requires a group-wide further development of group-wide sales, which includes new digital sales forms and a direct and continuous customer access across all the brands. Also, the Supervisory Board has decided to even now nominate Gunnar Kilian for a longer period of time than the nomination period that he has so far, which would end in April 2023. So we would have to have him on board for a longer period of time. In both areas of responsibility of Mr. Kilian, HR and truck and bus, in the coming years against the backdrop of transformation, there are tasks ahead of us for which Volkswagen requires Mr. Kilian's services for a long period of time. Ladies and gentlemen, Supervisory Board and Board of Management have come up with important decisions together, and we found good answers in order to make the Volkswagen Group fit for the future. We have a solution now that shows the clear wish to design, to shape our future, and to come up with far-reaching decisions. With its investment that was decided for the years 2022 through to 2026 and the decisions on the personnel, Volkswagen will continue on its way of the transformation, and I'm convinced we will be very successful in doing so. Thank you very much. And with this, I'd like to hand over to Dr. Dies.
Thank you, Mr. Pötsch. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the midst of the largest transformation in the history of our company, Volkswagen. Volkswagen is evolving from a multi-brand OEM to a vertically integrated automotive group. In July, we presented our new auto strategy with strong brand groups, premium, volume and sport, and worldwide leading technology platforms. Our SSP platform for the hardware with the common battery cell, our operating system, VWS, and the mobility services. For the implementation, in the beginning of the year, we hired people for key functions for purchasing, finance and technology. Now we are improving our board of management further by focusing even more on the topics which are central to our strategy. Our largest brand, Volkswagen Passenger Cars, the China business and CARIAD. Ralf Rennstetter will become part of the group's board as head of the brand, which is a further development of his career after driving forward the brand Volkswagen Passenger Cars, including the turnarounds in both South and North America. I've been working closely with Ralf Brandstetter for 6 years, and I remain convinced that he is exactly the right person to drive our China business into a digital and battery electric future. Thomas Schäfer, his successor with the brand Volkswagen, is one of the most competent top managers around, and I'm sure that he will successfully continue the success story of the last months. The CARIAD management is going to be simplified by reallocating it to somebody on the group board. I am already intensively working to develop CARIAD have been since spring, and currently we are setting important milestones in the direction of an own operating system and third market capacities. With Hauke Stars, we were able to hire a IT and capital market expert with a proven track record who will drive digitalization in the group forward. With decades of experience, Manfred Döss is the ideal person to succeed Ms. Hiltrud Wörner in the Integrity and Law Department. On behalf of the entire Board of Directors, I would like to thank Hiltrud Wörner for her excellent achievements for our company. I speak on behalf of the entire Board of Directors when I say thank you, Hiltrud Wörner. Since the digital new auto world also sees a development of traditional sales models into new forms, and for the first time we have direct contact with our customers, sales will also be represented directly at board level. Hildegard Wortmann is a proven expert in her field. Since 2019, as an Audi Board of Director member, she has contributed toward making the brand even better contoured and the marketing to advance that. I'm looking forward to cooperating with her even closer in the future. On to planning round 70. For the first time, at 89 billion euros, we are investing more than half of our entire investment into future technologies. By 2026, we'll invest around about 30 billion euros into digitalization of our vehicles and autonomous driving. This is 10% more than during the past investment round planning. We are assuming that by 2030, round about a third of the sales in the worldwide mobility markets are realized with software-based services. The ramp-up of e-mobility is something we are investing into. Every fourth of our vehicles by 2026 will have a battery electric drive system. The electrification of European sites is driven forward with energy and zest. In the Lower Saxony sites, we're investing 21 billion euros in the next 5 years. Hanover will entirely changed with the ID Buzz launched next year. We are entering the BEV world. The most interesting German premium car, the Artemis, will be built in Hanover as well. In addition, we are expanding body manufacturing for a new model of the Bentley. With the Moyer shuttles and the IB Buzz AD, this site will be spearheading autonomous driving. Hanover will be a technology driver for the entire group. In Salzgitter, a battery factory is being built, in which from 2025 on will manufacture the common battery cell for the group. To this effect, we're investing just under 2 billion euros until the year 2026 alone, and buildings, machines and facilities prepare the mass production of this. In addition to that, the Supervisory Board has agreed the foundation of an SE company for battery activity focus and third-party involvement. The component manufacturing are undergoing a transformation. Hanover, in addition to the hardware for charge infrastructure, will produce axles for the MEB models. In Brunswick, Salzgitter and Kassel, we're investing into the further expansion of existing MEB manufacturing of battery systems, rotor-stators and e-drives. In Emden, as in Zwickau, MEB production will be further increased. Our largest site, our headquarters in Volkswagen and the parent factory, used to be a part of the transformation endeavors in our company, which is why during the past few months, together with Daniel Carvalho and the labor representatives and top management, we have held intensive talks on the future of Wolfsburg. We have started this debate to develop a vision of the future for this site. Wolfsburg is getting a new identity in the world of new auto. Our target, an internationally relevant site which is ready for the future with efficient group-controlled 2 e-manufacturing lines and a highly modern development center and the expansion of further future fields. with the Trinity project from 2026, an innovative and competitive battery electric and level 4 prepared car of the next generation is going to take place outside today's factory premises. We are structuring vehicle manufacturing in Wolfsburg in a manner that is ready for the future. Ms. Cavalier has put her weight behind the endeavor to bring an e-car to Wolfsburg. And I'm very pleased that the ID3 with the package for this site will be partially made from 2023 on and from 2024 fully made here. The changes in Wolfsburg will be a blueprint for further transformation worldwide. The effects for our employees will be felt in the next years increasingly, and I'm very pleased to see that the Supervisory Board is extending the contract of Gunnar Kilian and ensuring continuity in HR. But also on our German and European sites, the BEV transformation is gathering speed. In Leipzig, we are realizing synergies with 2 Porsche models and PPE toolkits in the premium sector. Neckarsulm will be electrified. We are preparing the Audi vehicle family E6 and the successor generation. The electrified plant in Brussels from 2026 will be making the Audi Q8 e-tron. On the Iberian Peninsula from 2025 in the multi-brand factory in Martorell, we intend to manufacture compact e-vehicles and in Pamplona e-vehicles of the SUV class. The final decision depends on the general framework conditions and state subsidies. This transformation of a century will only be successful if we become more efficient at the same time, which is why with our updated 5-year plan we've defined a clear path towards strategic financial targets being reached and our competitiveness much improved. By 2025 and 6, we strive for an operating return on sales of 8 to 9%. For this year, we assume that with up to 9 million delivered vehicles, our margin target will be at the upper end of the margin corridor of 6 to 7.5%. With our fixed cost program, which we've announced a year ago, we are on track. In the automotive section, we intend to reduce the proportion of investments in property, plant and equipment as part of the development costs on sales will be reduced to 11% by 2026. Our net current flow in the automotive division as an important KPI of transformation will be at around about 15 billion by 2025-26. As you can see, we have the right strategy and are implementing it at great speed. With a better placed and more diversified team of the management, we will put further energy behind that, together with our employees and their representatives, and supported by the owner's family and families and the federal state of Lower Saxony and our shareholders. We will guide Volkswagen into a successful future. Thank you very much. And I would like to pass the floor to Daniela Cavallo.
Thank you, Dr. Dies. Dear representatives of the media, dear colleagues, we stand here today and we are talking about the results of planning round number 70. That's truly a proud number, as I find, and co-determination has been on board for Volkswagen since 76 years. And this is why it's true today. Economic feasibility and securing employment are targets that are equally important for us, and they are the driver for the sustainable success of the group. With a view to the planning round, I'm happy to be able to state that today is a good day for the colleagues at Volkswagen. At our sites, the transformation is in full swing, and it continues to be going on hand in hand with sustainable outlook for secure employment. We have worked towards it together again, and thus Volkswagen again is an outstanding example for how a fair change and a transformation can happen. Allow me subsequently to mention just a few highlights. Again, we achieved for the worldwide sites and companies to bring about a convincing planning round. Everywhere we show Volkswagen is serious about transformation and sets the stage for it. More than every second euro of our capital expenditure goes into our future issues, and that shows that we are not just talking about the change, we are right in the middle of it, and we deliver. With this high level of speed, transformation will reach more and more employees on our side. But despite all the speed, our co-determination in the future will provide central certainties. We won't accept that transition, transformation and change will happen and will unilaterally be to the detriment of employees or leave behind parts of the workforce. Now is the time to reinforce qualification, lifelong learning and transformation concepts. With our Labour Director, Gunnar Kilian, and the entire Board of Management team, we will decisively work on this, because without the employees who have a perspective and certainty and thus are courageous in working with us, the best transformation concepts and strategies won't be worthwhile. With the decisions of the planning round number 70, it is clear that we have a solid and robust plan on which we can all be proud of. And now it is about to hit our targets. Let me give you a couple of examples. With Audi in Neckarsulm, electrification has now been started. There we will introduce the E6 family as the successor generation. The Works Council for Wolfsburg has demanded an earlier start of e-mobility for us in Wolfsburg, and our main plant will now be on its way towards it. In the future, the ID.3 will become a Wolfsburg car. With Trinity and Artemis, the future flagships of our group will be produced in our home state, Lower Saxony. In Wolfsburg, for the Trinity project, there will be a completely new approach. We'll have a highly modern factory. The entire automotive industry will be interested to find out about it. This shows that Wolfsburg will be and stay the powerhouse. Campus Sandkamp will see to it. It will continue what technical development at Volkswagen has done, and the great performance that it has provided before will be continued. Provide platforms for superior cars in the future with which our group will be successful all over the world. Now, after Zwickau, our producing plants in Emden and Hanover will be turned into hotspots for e-mobility. My colleagues from the Works Councils there tell me that people are very excited and are eager to move forward. The same is true for our components plants. They are an essential part of the transformation, and they show how e-mobility can start new fields of employment, and employment will be generated. The Gigacell factory in Salzgitter is just one example for it. There are furthermore examples all over our components plants. In general, the employee side is very happy with the results of the planning round. However, after these positive introductory statements, I would like to mention a further point. Group and the core brand have announced yesterday for semiconductor supply, 2022 will continue to be a difficult year. And this, where we are coming from a worrying low level. Just one number. Our core plant in 2021 will most likely not produce even 400,000 cars. Such a dramatically low status has not happened since the end of the 1950s. Therefore, at the end, I want to say quite clearly, the planning round is a really good one. It shows the right course ahead for us. However, the coming month will be very hard. We will have to see what we can do. Reduced production sites, closure days, shifts that won't be happening. All this belongs to the truth of today as well. But I'm convinced that our workforce will be able to withstand it because we have a sustainable plan. Together, as the Volkswagen family, we've mastered quite a lot, and we'll do this together as well. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Cavano, Mr. Dies, Mr. Pötsch. Thank you for your assessment and statements. Let us come to the questions by our viewers. Several have arrived. If you've logged on the internet, you can type them into the chat. For the colleagues on the phone, I have a housekeeping remark. Please, on your phone pad, press 9 and then asterisk so that you are part of our question system. And we'll begin with the questions that have come in through the chat. The first goes to Mr. Perch. It's about future responsibilities on the group board for Mr. Dies. The question is from Reuters. Mr. Schwarz. Well, I'd like to answer the question, if I may. Let me first say that it is fairly straightforward to describe the responsibilities of Dr. Dies, be it from the being the head of the volume group, the volume market, VW passenger cars, VW commercial vehicles, Seat Skoda, and the mobility platform Moja. Across strategy, quality, design, internal audit, HR top management, and, as Ms. Mommsen has mentioned, communication, of course. But that would not really encompass the entirety of his responsibilities. In harmony with what Dr. Dies has just mentioned, let me say that we are in the midst of a fundamental transformation movement, and the board has filled important positions here. In addition to the group control, which was brand-focused in the past, we now have new platforms that are developing, whether that be software or battery or charge networks. You're aware of the new mobility developments. And one of the core responsibilities of Dr. Dies will remain, and be even more in the future, to develop the strategy and to drive forward the implementation of the strategy in these fields. And on a personal note, I see him as the motor of change. I hope that, supported by the measures we have now decided, he'll have even more time to live up to this responsibility, which entails a lot of convincing of people as well. If I may, I'd like to complement this from my point of view. It's a topic that has been very prominent. By this reorganization, I feel strengthened, and I cannot complain that I have too few responsibilities, be it semiconductors and the current situation. Everyone looks my way whenever something happens. I have the overall responsibility for this company. I'm very pleased that we are looking at the difficult transformation in China, the transformation of the brand group, brand VW, and we have gotten some reinforcement at the group board level, particularly in the transformation of the group. This will support us, and I'm very pleased to note that we will be even more effective with a new organizational structure. I feel no reason to assume that I will have fewer responsibilities here or will be less responsible for things. Two questions from Hege Janssen from NDR. The first to Mr. Dies. Do you think you are well placed for competing with Tesla? Grünheide plant be mentioned. And what about cooperation with the Works Council? Well, I had some concerns about our competitiveness with a new competitor. And it's not just the American manufacturer who has been starting to build a factory close to Berlin, but also new Chinese competitors who have a lot of access to capital market resources and are competing now in this segment. We see some dynamism here in Wolfsburg, new development center and new center for vehicles, for the Trinity, new manufacturing concepts which permit us to tackle the competition in new structures, not in 70, 80-year-old structures, with a new dynamism here at this location. And I am more confident that we will be able to face our competition, and it's very important that we see our competitors, that we notice who they are. The team is very focused. The teams here in Wolfsburg are looking forward to this competition, and it would be very good if we could reform the old structure as well to be ready to compete with our competitors.
Now, as regards the cooperation with the employee representatives, we did have intensive discussions. We came up with some agreements. We talk to each other very often. We will coordinate communication much better in the future. Gunnar Kilian will play a role here. I think we had a constructive dialogue over the last few weeks and months, and I believe that this dialogue can be intensified even further. And something which is particularly important is that we share a common vision for the Wolfsburg site and for the group. That's a very good precondition for very good cooperation. Ms. Cavallo, would you like to add? Yes, of course, I'd like to add. The question was not going to me initially, but cooperation has two sides. That's quite clear. So that we are standing here together today shows that we have used the recent weeks in order to talk about the subjects that were ahead of us. Now we've ticked them off. We catered for them, and we are very happy with the topics that we go into the future, that we adopted in the planning round with the many agreements we have now as regards direct cooperation. So I believe that we will work on the issues in a reasonable way. And that's something which I'd like to add again and underline again here. I am not interested in having such disputes and reading about such disputes in the public every single day. This does something not just to the public, but also to the workforce. And I believe we have so many challenges and so many issues ahead of us, and that we should focus on those, should focus on moving through these issues in a constructive manner, discuss them and find solutions for the issues where I'm sure there will be controversial opinions in the future. That's, of course, normal and usual. Thank you, Ms. Cavallo. Let's come to the next question. Brand group, volume brand group, you talked about it. There are two questions, one from Max Heckler from Süddeutsche Zeitung and from Frank Jörnsen from Automobilwoche. Let me give you one. Mr. Brandstetter will come to the Group Board of Management, but the responsibility for the volume group brand stays with Mr. Dies. Why is that not assumed by Mr. Brandstetter? Well, maybe I can answer that. So when it comes to the concept of the management of the volume group, that has started in a strategic fashion, and we now need to flesh out the details. Together with Mr. Brandstetter, I'll work on it over the next few months and see how we manage the volume group. The responsibility will stay till middle of the year with my person. Right, thank you so much. Then we would like to accept a question over the phone. We have Christoph Steitz from Reuters. He is the first caller. Mr. Steitz, hello. Hello, greetings from Frankfurt. I have two questions. Question number one goes to Mr. Pötsch. Have I understood you correctly that at the beginning you said financial power of Volkswagen is robust and sufficient in order to start the restructuring programs ahead of you? Do you feel powerful enough in financial terms to pay for all of it from the existing funds, from cash flow that you have? And a question going to you, Mr. Dies, and maybe also to you, Ms. Cavallo. I think speed is of the essence here for Volkswagen, also when it comes to the global competition. Many of your competitors can move faster. For you, you have a bit of a built-in disadvantage as a group with more than 600,000 employees. Do you think that the measures adopted now will make you more agile and faster? So maybe you can talk about that. Thank you. Well, then I'd like to address the first question as you asked it. Do we have sufficient financial stamina to adopt the programs and finance the programs? I think it wouldn't be masterful to the Board of Management if it suggested something that it can't get financed. Of course, there is a clear-cut financial concept behind it. Maybe we should add here that there are very intelligent concepts here with completely new issues, the integration of third parties as financial partners could be envisaged. There are a couple of very innovative ideas, but I'm going to answer this in the affirmative. Yes, we are in a position to finance these programs. Now, as regards the speed, maybe I can start talking about it from my point of view. Together, we have started to discuss group control functions, how we control it, how fast we go about matters. I'm sure this is one of the fields of action that we are discussing at the joint management rounds. This is due to the fact that our business models are changing quite a lot. So far, we had individual cars, we had brand portfolios that we managed, and with successful cars that were mainly going the route of wholesale, we were able to sell these cars all over the world. So that was basically our business model. It's going to be getting bigger. We'll go the way of vertical integration. We'll produce batteries. We'll have charging networks. Our platforms will become big. Software will be playing a dominating role. We also adopted a concept today of providing our battery investment with the ability to become listed at some point of time. So huge business fields are coming up that have a great dimension and that go beyond individual brands. We discussed the business field of batteries till 2030 will generate about 20 billion sales. That's as much as Skoda. So new fields of businesses come up that we have to look into. And this is why when it comes to the control of individual car projects, we need to let them go in the group. That's what the brand groups will do in Premium. It works excellently, headed by Audi. Porsche is relatively independent. In the next few months, we'll elaborate a concept for the volume group brand in order to focus on group synergies, on major strategic issues, and on the new issues in group control functions. Thus will become faster, and decisions will be delegated out of Wolfsburg in order to have the principle of subsidiarity, to act in the brand groups and in the individual areas for batteries and charges. We'll be speeding things up. I'm very happy that this will work, and the first concepts were discussed with the employee representatives. There are lots of opportunities inside for our employees. From my point of view, let me add the following. For decades, we have shown that decisions with the employee representatives and the supervisory board were taken on expansion of the group in further sites. And now, in this area of transformation, we are moving forward, and we as the employees side know that it's of the essence that the issues that we have adopted in the strategy in the supervisory board are now moving forward in a speedy fashion, because at the end of the day we are most interested in this. We are clear, if we're not fast enough, then in the competition we will have disadvantages and maybe we won't be moving forward, and that would mean then we can't talk about secure employment and good jobs. So from having said that, it's clear that we have agreements, we have targets that we've come up with, and in this framework, we as employee representatives will work towards it and want to move forward with the issues that we can influence. Only this way can we have a sustainable company.
Thank you. The next question is from Jan Schneider from AFP on the phone. Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me participate. A question for Mr. Dies and Mr. Pötsch. In the entire saga around the conflicts, which were also quite public, was there a moment where you said, you know, it's not worth it, Mr. Dies, or Mr. Pötsch, that's enough, I'll take my hat, I'll not continue to accept this. And Grünheide was mentioned as a new project. Will you continue to pursue this course for the employees as well? Well, this was an intensive process, and I'm very grateful that Mr. Pötsch has not lost patience, and quite on the contrary, put his weight behind that, and this is both in my interest and that of the company. And at no point in time did I lose motivation or the will to continue here, because this company is very close to my heart, and we are on this trajectory together, and we have a bright future ahead of us as a company. On the competitors, the American competitors, I've quoted them, Tesla in this industry, where we are maybe in this automotive industry too, or maybe even overcompetent and overestimate our resources. And now we have a very good focus on this competitor and competition as well. We are preparing with a lot of energy. And in Wolfsburg, we are feeling the dynamics. Well, we are saying we are building a new plant, a new factory, a new development center, and there is enjoyment of the competitive situation. We need not be afraid of our competitors, but take them seriously, because that is our only opportunity. The competence, all the skills, our people need to be on board in this competitive situation, and we do. Well, the question addressed me directly, and to say directly, no, there was no moment where I felt I'm ready to go. It's quite impossible, because I'm working here with a lot of passion and great deal of conviction. For all three of us here, this applies, so that at the end of the day, it was possible, guided by the voices of reason, to address the differences in opinion and to find a consensus. For completeness' sake, let us take the third call, which is John Miller of Financial Times. Joe, please go ahead.
Guten Tag, danke, dass ich
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me put this question to you. Following the planning round last year, the market assumed that VW had resolved the internal conflicts and was driving electrification at full speed. And then over the past few weeks, this trust has been lost. My question to Mr. Poach and Ms. Cavallo is, the market and the employees, can you give them back the trust and confidence that the strategy of VW is now stable? And why is this planning round different from that of last year? Second, today, I see no commitment to shedding jobs. Does that mean that VW will be able to do this transformation without shedding jobs? Well, I can start if you'd like me to. Mr. Miller, let me preempt the answer. It sounds a little disrespectful, but I have told you and your colleagues to please worry when things are quiet in Wolfsburg, because that would mean that there is too little movement. And I'm totally with you when you ask whether this was necessary, what we've experienced over the past few weeks. No, of course not. But to some extent, please do see what happened here is emblematic of the great commitment and the efforts put behind this to reach positions which, at the end of today, and we've seen this with all the fundamental decisions taken, is to the benefit of the company. And yes, Ms. Cavallo is entirely right in stating this was anything but great for the company. It was not a good thing for the company, and we are sorry for the players in the capital market that we have occasioned some uncertainty and loss of confidence. But the motto must not be to say we'll be nice to one another in the future only, but to use the experience gleaned from these intensive discussions and to constructively use them to drive this cause forward. And then we'll be able to make these great programs happen and to convince the capital market that step by step we are approaching a great future. Well, I am confident that we, after taking this hurdle, will be able to exude quiet confidence. Our strategy is superior to our competitors. We are early days in terms of electrification. No other company has autonomous driving skills that match ours. This is a great competence, a great resource. We have the readiness for change, a common objective with the labor representatives, with Ms. Cavallo, and a lot speaks for us having the same direction. I was a little concerned that the change isn't driven ahead with enough commitment and fast enough. Here in Wolfsburg, we have overcome that phase. We've started a great program for change here in Wolfsburg, which will be hard to recognize in only 10 years. There will be a lot of transformations, one of the most modern development centers, very modern production, group control and organization at this level. A lot of change that happens, which will shape together. To this effect, I am confident that the capital markets will regain confidence in our strategy, and I remain convinced that in the automotive sector, there is no better investment than Volkswagen.
So we have one further question from the chat that a couple of colleagues had the questions on the details of the Wolfsburg site package. It was announced that economic feasibility of ID3 production in Wolfsburg would be secured through a site package, and this is about the details. Well, maybe the brand would say that. I can say something here. So, what is important to us when we talk about such issues, when we negotiate, we want to find solutions, as I said in my introductory statement, that show economic feasibility and at the same time secure employment. Now, that does not mean that when it comes to employment, that we have a standstill. There are major change processes happening in our company, as we heard in a couple of instances before. You know, with transformation, we as a Works Council are quite aware that there will be jobs, there will be tasks today, which in the future, in this form and shape, we will no longer have. And on the other side, new tasks will be appearing, with digitalization. There will be new tasks in components that I mentioned before. And to shape this transformation process is the task now. And it's part and parcel of the site agreement, for example. Of course, we know that we can't just do all that with providing qualification. There will be some jobs that we no longer need, and we'll do that with socially compatible reduction of jobs. We'll have early retirement regulations so that we see to it that the colleagues who have been with us for decades, that they go to their well-deserved retirement, and that we can bring in new talents who we need for the future areas of work if we can't qualify people in our own company. All of these are topics that are included in this package. And also there is the agreement that the cars will be coming, and on the other side there is the agreement that we'll cooperate on the productivity targets. Right, I'll take a look at the time. The Supervisory Board, if I'm informed correctly, has a rather full agenda still. We wanted to inform you as soon as possible about the results, and Ms. Cavallo, Mr. Pötsch and Mr. Dies wanted to be with you personally. There are a couple of questions, but those are asking about the facts. The press team would like to give you the answers, and of course we are always prepared to answer your questions. So I'd really like to end the press conference. I hope you don't mind, and we're looking forward to welcome you in person next time. Thank you very much.